It's an exciting time to be a theme park fan in Southern California because we already know that Disneyland is their big forward project with some big expansions. Universal just announced, of course, their Fast and Furious roller coaster that's coming for 2025.
So exciting.
And the other theme parks are going to respond too because we could potentially be seeing new roller coasters in 2025 at SeaWorld San Diego, Knott's Berry Farm, and Magic Mountain, which is just crazy.
It is crazy, but it does make sense because it's like a similar thing is going on here in Orlando, right? Epic Universe is going to be opening in 2025. Yep. So you see all these other parks are trying to like beef up their lineup.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everyone's trying to like compete. So, you know, you have Universal over on the West Coast. It's like, well, we're going to put all this in. Disney's like, well, we're going to do all this.
Yep.
So everyone else has got to kind of like, all right, well, us too.
Yeah. So we got some new updates from Screamscape. So as usual, take these with a grain of salt. You know, these are just rumors. Nothing is confirmed. However, it is fun to think about. So let's go down the line. Let's start first with SeaWorld San Diego. They just opened up Arctic Rescue, so they just got a new roller coaster, but SeaWorld Entertainment has been aggressive with adding new investments in their parks.
Specifically with B&M. We got Pipeline earlier this year. We have the new family invert that's going to Busch Gardens Tampa, so it makes sense that they're going to continue working with B&M at the other locations across the country.
For sure. So Screamscape points out that they might be looking at a wing coaster, which, I mean, there's none anywhere on the West Coast. The closest you got, I think, is X-Flight, which is just, like, not even remotely close. But we just saw, of course, Pipeline, like you mentioned earlier, go in, which is a surf coaster. Southern California, you got the beach there.
Well, I could see it going one of two ways.
Yeah.
I could see one way, people being like, oh, sweet, like, we love surfing out here, like, that'd be cool to do a roller coaster. Then there's also like, oh, we surf in real life, so like, why do we need to do it on a roller coaster?
I like to think that people would be
know.
no, let's do it on a roller coaster. It's cool.
I have literally no idea, but the thing with the wing coaster, should they go that route, is that they have a lot of height restrictions there.
Yes.
So, should they do that, I imagine it's going to be more Thunderbird-ish.
Yeah.
Than like something with a lift hill.
You'll launch it, so then you don't have to deal with the lift. I mean, Emperor does have a lift hill. That's decently tall. That's like a mid-sized B&M dive coaster. So it's not
for a wing coaster. I feel like it's got to be taller.
Yeah. It's because the thing is that those layouts are just like fundamentally different, you know. And I mean, I think that the Pipeline style coaster would just make more sense personally. Like, my biggest thing here is land, because SeaWorld San Diego is extremely tight on space. They've been putting the past two coasters literally in the old parking lot. So it's like, where do you make room for this? I mean, there's a little bit of a gap between Emperor and Arctic Rescue that you could like squeeze in an entrance and build more into the parking lot. But then at that point you have like most of your big rides literally all right on top of each other. So I think there's also more incentive for SeaWorld San Diego to add something because it looks like they're closing Tidal Twister, and that's like Dunzo, which count it as a roller coaster or not, that is another attraction that's like biting the dust there. So, you know, put in something else that keeps the guests wanting to come back. It makes sense.
The next park that looks like it might be getting something new is a park that is currently just losing stuff.
Yeah.
So, Knott's Berry Farm has not had Accelerator open for more than like a tiny period of time since before COVID at this point. And then now it kind of seems like their whole project with Montezuma's Revenge is biting the dust.
Which is really, really sad. It's just been so quiet about that. We haven't heard anything. So, yeah, that'd be two coasters that are not operational.
Yeah, so everyone's been saying for a while that they were going to add something like family or kids style in Camp Snoopy, but because of the loss essentially of two high thrill roller coasters, kind of have to fast track something so they don't piss off their, you know, audience.
Well, and I mean, technically three coasters if you count Timberline Twister. The kiddie coaster is gone.
That's true.
But supposedly that'll be coming in the Camp Snoopy replacement, which is going to be for next year. So we still would be looking at 2025 for whatever comes next. And assuming that it would be replacing Montezuma's Revenge, you're probably looking at a compact launch coaster. So literally like a spiritual successor to Montezuma's Revenge. You know, Cedar Fair is going with Zamperla for Dragster. They have their double heart model that they have not sold one of. I think that is definitely a possibility. I mean, you could fit it in that compact piece of land there, and it's like, that'd be a much better option than a Skyrocket 2, I feel like. I don't want that. I think that's also a good option because those go forwards and backwards, which is what Montezuma's did. It's just that that was a much older ride model, and so we'd be replacing it with something a lot more modern, you know, kind of like that next step in evolution.
It's kind of a bummer because I never got to do Montezuma's Revenge.
Yeah.
I never got to do Accelerator.
Well, Accelerator's not gone. Well, it's not yet. I don't know. It should be reopening at some point.
I don't know. It's been so long at this point. Like they could be doing something kind of like dragstery to it, but we don't need to get into that. We'll just move on. That's a whole other thing.
So, Magic Mountain. I think that there's been a lot of talk about what their next roller coaster should be. So, their last one that they added was Wonderwind Flight of Courage. So, they've got a lot of roller coasters, more than any other park in the world. So, it's like, where do you find that gap in their lineup?
I don't really know that they have like a glaring one at this point.
The one that everyone says is Giga, but I don't think that's what we're looking at for this.
I don't think they have room, do they?
They do. They actually do have a lot of room.
Okay.
But the plot of land that is being targeted for this next attraction is this old theater that's towards the front of the park. It's next to like Full Throttle. There's that sports bar right there. You clear that out. You don't have room for a Giga, but you definitely have room for something else. And Screamscape specifically mentions Vekoma.
Which would be very, very cool because that's not a Magic Mountain gap. That is a United States-wide gap.
Yeah.
That we don't have big, modern Vekoma thrill coasters. And I feel like we've talked about this so many times.
Yeah.
We're like a broken record. But they're so fantastic. They feel very different than anything else,
yeah.
I would argue.
Now that gap is going to close a little bit next year when we get the new Vekoma Super Boomerang at Great Adventure. And so that is signs that Six Flags is willing to go high thrill with Vekoma. And so you're putting one on your flagship park out east, put one on your flagship park out west.
I don't think it'll
Just
be a
makes sense.
boomerang, though.
No, well, they got terrain to deal with. Magic Mountain it's a mountain, so they have to do something custom to deal with that space. And Super Boomerang is just long and flat, you know?
Yeah, and I haven't done a Super Boomerang, but I imagine it doesn't feel anything like doing Let Coaster or Phoenix. Like, those were fantastic.
Yes.
They were so much fun. I mean, Let Coaster was super duper intense, but Phoenix was something that, like, I feel most people could enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though, like, Magic Mountain has sit-down coasters that go upside down, these feel fundamentally different. It doesn't feel like your B&M or your Premier, your Intamins, anything.
They ride different.
Yeah.
They do.
I think it'd be really, really nice to see that. I feel like that's probably what they would do, is something along the lines of Phoenix, but I'd love to see Vekoma just pull something else out of their hat. And, like, I know that they could do something amazing if they, were given the full potential. I think it depends on how much money Six Flags wants to spend.
Overall, I think it's safe to say that if you live in Southern California and you're a coaster enthusiast, you're probably already pretty satisfied, but, lots to look forward to.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that all their parks are just, like, stacking up with new additions and everything. And I think that they're egging each other on.
I know, it's awesome. Again, same thing down in Orlando. I'm like, keep it going, guys. I love this, like, friendly competition.
Yeah.
Well, it benefits us
exactly.
all so much.
We're the real winners here, the consumers. I love it.
It's great.
So let us know down in the comments below what you think of all this new talk of additions coming to Southern California with SeaWorld San Diego, Knott's Berry Farm, and Magic Mountain, on top of already Universal and Disney. So,
good Lord.
Yeah, good stuff. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.